Um, and here we go, recording in progress. I want to introduce to you Ryan Brown. Ryan is an English instructor at South Piedmont Community College. He's also the director of our learning communities here. He teaches both English 111 and the co-requisite for that gateway, the English 011. So Ryan is going to walk us through his PowerPoint that discusses English 011, that co-requisite class. So, Mr. B, Ryan, do you want to begin sharing that document?
Hello. Yes, Mr. Muir. Do I share it on my end or?
Yes, right at the bottom, the share screen icon in green. You should be able to click that, and you should see your PowerPoint right there. Yes, sir.
Okay. Share. All right, are we sharing the screen?
No. We are not.
I'm not seeing it yet, Ryan. Let's see. So were you, when you opened the share screen, were you able to select the PowerPoint?
Yeah, okay. I know what I'm doing now. Okay. So share my screen.
You got it, Ryan. That's coming.
And we should see it now. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody, for being patient with me while I figure out how to work a computer in the year 2021. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Like Mr. Muir mentioned, my name is Ryan Brown, and I am an assistant professor of English at South Piedmont Community College, and I also am the director of learning communities. I have been an instructor at SPCC since 2013. So if I'm doing the math right, I believe that's going on 8 years. And what I'm going to do today or this afternoon is talk a little bit about our rise success in English 011 and some of the things that we've learned along the way. To give you a sense of this presentation, first of all, the agenda for this PowerPoint goes as follows. We're going to look at the pedagogy of English 011 and how it is connected with our Gateway English 111. We're going to look at how we schedule the classes to coincide and reinforce some of the lessons learned in English 111. And we'll also talk a bit about the faculty and their role in teaching 011 and the Gateway English 111. Just for Q&A purposes, if you have any questions, feel free to write those down and hang on to those until the end, and then we can discuss some of the questions once we have cycled through the presentation. To give you some background about South Piedmont Community College, we are located in Monroe, North Carolina, about 45 minutes outside of Charlotte. We're kind of close to the edge of South Carolina. We are a medium-sized college. We, in fall of 2019, served 3,184 credit programs with 3,184 students, not 3,000 programs, but 3,000 students. We serve both Union and Anson counties. Those are our service counties, and both of those demographics can vary in terms of geography. Anson County is more rural and Union County is more suburban. And they can also vary based on socioeconomic standing, in which Union County enjoys a higher socioeconomic standing, while Anson County oftentimes experiences a lower socioeconomic standing. So we serve a diverse population. There are 5 full-time English instructors in the English department at South Piedmont Community College, and the English department currently resides in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. Some more background specifically about RISE. We were kind of at the forefront. We were part of the guinea pig group in which we joined the RISE pilot back in 2019 to much success. We actually have enjoyed, following implementation, a 93% increase in success for students in English 111 who are receiving the English 011 support. And one of the basic tenets of our approach, and which can contribute to the success of the students, is that one size does not fit all. We have this saying at South Piedmont Community College that we need to meet students where they are. So no matter where they're coming from, their level of knowledge or experience with college level writing or lack thereof, we really need to figure out where they are and then meet them at their level, and then hopefully through support and through proven strategies, we're able to allow them to elevate a little bit and enjoy success in English 111 and of course in their future college courses. However, of course, we all are very familiar with the impact of the pandemic, and if we started in 2019, obviously you can imagine that this has had an impact, especially on our early days of implementing the program, in which much of RISE has been virtual. I know last semester I taught a paired English 111 and English 011 that were both virtual blended, in which we met through Microsoft Teams. So of course that will have an impact, but even though there have been some obstacles, no doubt, we have learned some things along the way. And the first thing to consider in terms of pedagogy is that the co-requisite is for support. This is not something that should have a negative stigma around it, in which students feel bashful or perhaps ashamed of being in English 011. This is actually a positive for them. This is something that allows them to work on their writing abilities. And it serves as a lab slash tutoring session to help students with their work in the Gateway English 111. And at the very basic level of our work in English 011, the instructor is serving to encourage, to support, and to guide students, focusing a large part on things like growth mindset, encouraging students to believe that even if they feel they're struggling with writing, they can always increase their abilities and sharpen their skills through hard work, determination, and practice. We also have a heavy focus in English 011 on writing thesis statements and various parts of the writing process. We give students in our English 011 at South Piedmont the opportunity to practice writing thesis statements, to practice writing citation. In our English 111, we do cover both APA and MLA. So in 011, we allow students space and time to practice with their APA and their MLA while the instructor is there, either virtually or physically, to give feedback, to encourage them, and to help them get a better grasp and understanding of what citation is and the purpose. For instance, in my class, I have them work on a writing thesis statements handout in which we work on developing thesis statements with claims that are followed by supporting reasons. And really what the handout is I give students different prompts, like with a certain claim, and then some reasons following that claim, and then they have to refashion that information into a coherent thesis statement. And that has proven to be helpful because, of course, thesis statements are a very important part of the writing process, and oftentimes students struggle with thesis statements. So allowing them that extra time to practice and be hands-on with writing is key to our work. Continuing with the pedagogy, we have a mantra here, and it is devote the time students need to the concepts they need. And the thing about this is, again, we need to meet students where they are. Some students may struggle with citation. Some students may struggle with thesis statements, organization, perhaps even grammar or mechanics. And what's also nice about English 011 is that while you may not have time to work on those nuts and bolts of writing in the gateway course, if you have a little bit of extra time in 011, you can devote some discussion to things like grammar. So in my class, I have a lesson on grammar. We have a lesson on punctuation. Those nuts and bolts of writing that can be really important, and also may seem mystifying to students early on. So we need to try and demystify mechanics and grammar for them. We help students better understand these activities or these parts of the writing process with, again, short in-class exercises. There is no homework in English 011. Everything is done within the time period that we have with them. So we devote our in-class work to in-class exercises. Like I mentioned, the thesis statements activity. There's an activity to help students better understand comma usage, organization, the elements of essay writing, such as introductions, the body paragraphs, and the conclusion. And we just have students write. The best way that they can sharpen their skills is by working on them. You know, we need to sharpen the saw, so to speak. We can't just have them, you know, work constantly, and even if they're not getting it, you know, keep pounding their head against the pavement until they get a headache. That's not really very helpful. So we need to give the students a time and a space to sharpen the saw, but as Stephen Covey mentions. And have them really work on those things that they need the chance to develop. So maybe some weaker aspects of their writing, but this is an opportunity for students to think about concepts learned in English 01 or 111, excuse me, and then practice those concepts in English 011. Now we're moving to the best practices component of this presentation. And the two major things that we here at South Piedmont emphasize is we want students to feel welcomed and we want them to engage. First of all, before the class even starts, you want to begin strong. Send students a welcome message through email or Moodle, or if you have an early intervention software, such as we have at South Piedmont, which is Aviso, for example, to let them know when the class is starting, relevant course materials, just to get them prepped and ready for what's to come. And also, I would be remiss if this wasn't important just to remind students about the class. Sometimes students forget that they actually have course on a specific day. So it's important to remind them. After we get them in the classroom, we then need to engage them. And the first step of engagement is figuring out where are students. Students in the English 011 can have very different experiences with college level writing. After all, they are in the support class due to their high school GPA, but their GPA may be a reflection of other classes that they didn't do so well in, and not English. Maybe they're rock stars in English, but they just didn't do so well in, say, math or science. However, you may also have the students who do struggle with written composition. So we have a smorgasbord, so to speak, of different students, and we need to identify what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what they already know. So identifying prior knowledge early on is key. Using low stakes, ungraded or unweighted assignments is important. In-class discussions I have found to be really helpful, especially early on. I have students talk about their experience with writing. Has it been a positive experience, a negative experience? What do you think is your strongest part of writing an essay? What is your weakest? And you get a sense of the different levels on which people are landing at the beginning of the class. Going back to the welcome part and also the engagement, I think this third bullet point here touches on both those elements, in which we have been moving at South Piedmont to change the term office hours to student hours, which it wasn't my idea, so I'm not going to take credit for it, but I think it is pretty smart, because office hours can sometimes suggest to students that if you come to see an instructor during this time, they're grading, they're working, they're doing office work. So if you come and see them, you're interrupting their work. But changing the nomenclature to student hours suggests we're blocking off this part of the day for you, for the student. If you have any questions, if you have concerns, if you want to even take a look at a draft you're working on, and we can have a one-on-one conversation. Those are all really meaningful and fruitful interactions. And part of encouraging students to engage in those interactions is to diminish the feeling of intimidation that may come with office hours. And just a simple shift in the language we use can make a big difference. And I think the students have been really taking advantage more so since we have changed to student hours. Although we've been mostly virtual blended up until this semester, I would say the foot traffic in professors' offices has been better due to this shift in understanding and framework for students to understand office hours. Continue with best practices. We want to provide alternatives to learning that are engaging. This isn't just about lecture. Instructors or professors should sometimes perhaps get away from the traditional format and try to engage students on a different level. We use different technologies in English 011, such as Google Jamboards, Kahoot, which can create some interactive games. I've used in my class a website called Poplet, which allows students to create a electronic mind map. It's especially helpful when working on organization. We also focus on growth mindset in English 011, which of course is really dedicated to instilling in students the belief that through hard work and dedication, they can become better at a skill. They can achieve more and become better at writing by practicing. It's the opposite, of course, to say a fixed mindset where it's kind of like this, nature versus nurture idea where, this is who I am, naturally, and I can't grow or evolve, as opposed to maybe this more nurture point of view in which if I have the right experiences, if I dedicate myself in the most meaningful and useful way, and if I have a positive attitude, if I believe that I can get better, then the results will eventually show for themselves. So encouraging that kind of plasticity of the mind really, in which our brains can change over time if we put in the work and eventually start making connections that we didn't make before. We also have videos that focus on things like study skills and time management, those habits of student success that are very important. I know for me, there's a gentleman on YouTube. He has a series of videos on different topics related to student success, habits for successful students, active reading, even some additional types of things like resume writing, like all these really kind of significant topics. And his name is Thomas Frank. So I'm sure if you go to YouTube and type in Thomas Frank, you'll find this wide range of videos that you could use in your classes. Also, in terms of best practices, don't just rely on discussion boards, on students writing and typing. Obviously, writing is important, but having in-class discussions can also go a long way. And that's one thing that I have integrated, using in-class discussions in which their grade is based on their participation and whether they contribute to the conversation or not. If they contribute, then great, they earn credit for that conversation. If not, then they don't. But it creates kind of a more informal way of talking about writing, but still encouraging that engagement and that level of thinking and response. I also like at the end of each class, for me personally, to have students write down in 25 words or less one major thing that they've learned. And I think this is a good exercise because it helps them to recall what stood out to them and write that down so it becomes reinforced. And that's also for a grade, but it's very helpful in helping students recall and reinforce the things that they're learning in class. So we talked pedagogy, we talked best practices. Last, we're going to look at scheduling. And when it comes to scheduling English 011 at South Piedmont Community College, the primary thing that I know the chair has done, Mr. John Muir has done, is don't tripod and combine two English 011 sections together. We have caps of 10 students for our English 011 courses. So that allows students a lot of access and opportunity to have one-on-one conversations with the instructor. And having these small classes is really fruitful. I know in my experience, I have been allowed to set aside short one-on-one meetings during the classes, even if they're just like maybe 5 minutes, having these short one-on-one conversations with the students to see where they are. Okay, do you have questions? Or, for example, if we're in the middle of drafting an essay, where are you with the drafting process? Can I see a copy of your draft? And I can give some feedback based on that. Also keep in mind, faculty teaching English 011 are also teaching the English 111 that these students are in. So the feedback is going to be directly relevant to the work in the classroom, because the instructor is the same for both sections. So I am enforcing ideas in English 011 that are valuable and are foregrounded in English 111. English 011 also typically meets before the gateway class. We've played around with both scheduling the English 011 before and after. And what we've decided is that having the class before is the best way to go. It allows the students to be introduced to the concepts that we're going to cover in English 111 before that gateway course. So maybe they have a little bit of a better understanding, a little bit of a better background, and it transitions directly into the English 111. So they don't feel overwhelmed or something along those lines, that anxious perhaps when talking about subjects in English 111 that they haven't heard about before. English 011 has already introduced them to thesis statements, topic sentences, syntax, diction, those types of ideas, and then they are recovered and re-emphasized in 111. We also have found that we need to run more sections. Students with higher GPAs are asking more and more to join the support class. So even students who don't need the course are asking to be a part of English 011. Right now, this fall of 2021, we're running 6 sections of English 011 because the demand is higher. So the word has been getting out that English 011 is not something to be ashamed of, and it's not even extra work. Students love that there's no homework. This is really just an opportunity for you to practice getting better at composition and to help you be more successful and achieve more in English 111. Last but not least, faculty. I already mentioned this before, but I just wanted to reemphasize that the instructors for English 011 and English 111 are the same. This is important because it allows the students to form a stronger bond with their instructors. The more time they spend with them, the more comfortable they are, and the more likely they'll ask questions, maybe be willing to meet during student hours to talk about their essays or things that they're currently working on. And also, the instructors for English 011, because students are feeling more comfortable, and that's really the goal. We want them to feel more comfortable, and part of our efforts to help them feel more comfortable is to create a positive and encouraging environment, to offer recognition, to celebrate the wins, celebrate the successes, but also recognize where there's opportunity for growth. It is important to make sure the expectations of the class are clear. This is support, this is a lab, but at the end of the day, you really need to take this and apply what you're learning to English 011 or 111, excuse me, in order to be successful. At the end of the day, the primary objective is to have students be successful in English 111. When possible, using full-time instructors or instructors who have deep experience teaching 111 or English 011 or even English 002. Having a team of experienced instructors is important just because they bring their background to the table and they are oftentimes familiar with the struggles that students go through and how to address those different struggles. Now, that is my presentation. I thank you so much for your time and attention. And now I will open it up for the Q&A. So are there any thoughts, questions, ideas?
Hi, Ryan. My name is Christy Reif. I'm from Central Piedmont. I was wondering if you could tell us, you and Mr. Muir, a little bit more about your scheduling and how you got permission to keep your 011s at 10.
Mr. Muir, as the former chair, I might let you take this one.
Thank you.
If he's still here, I know he may have had to step out a little bit early. I think he may have already had to leave for his class, so that's fine. I can't speak exactly to specifics, but in terms of permission, there were different options on the table, and we played around with some different things. I think really what was helpful, what was first of all feedback from faculty who emphasized that individualized instruction is going to be an important part of this, especially because students are coming with different backgrounds with writing. And so you need to have that opportunity to meet those students where they are. And that was part of the feedback that faculty gave in terms of, how can we best address the needs of the students. In addition to that, once we started seeing the success rates of English 011, then it became something that was, I guess, more acceptable in terms of keeping those caps low. And also keep in mind we are medium-sized, but still relatively small school. So we do have more of an opportunity, I guess, to schedule those lower cap sizes with the max of 10 students in English 011.
Thank you.
Thank you. Might there be anybody else with questions or comments, feedback?
I have a question if you don't mind. And it revolves around the idea of moving the co-requisite online. We have only taught it at CVCC as a seated, and then during COVID, and even last summer, synchronous, and that seemed to go very well. But we struggle with the idea of how can a class that is focused around being no homework and really supportive, what could that look like in an asynchronous online section? And I can't conceptualize it, but if you can, I'd love to hear how you could.
So that's a really, really good question. And I have not taught a fully online English 011, but just based on my initial thoughts, I'm thinking perhaps, if you create more of a flipped classroom in that you front load with like micro lectures and things that students can watch about various topics. In terms of the homework, that's fascinating, because if you can't have homework, when do they do the work? I mean, I guess you could have, if possible, set up some kind of synchronous meeting. Even for my online courses in the past, not English 011, but other courses, I've established like little meet and greet sessions for an hour or so, in which people could get together, students could meet with the instructor, and there could be a Q&A or a conversation. We could go over an upcoming assignment, and perhaps that could be part of it. Scheduling an hour a week for students to join and maybe ask some questions. And then of course, the instructor could record those meet and greets or those Q&As, whatever you want to call them, and post those to the learning management site. So those are just a couple ideas off the top of my head. Videos, scheduling synchronous meetings throughout. I think there's a couple ways to do it, but those are just some ideas that initially come to mind.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? I know we have just a couple more minutes left. But if I were to, maybe think about one takeaway, especially for me, individualized instruction is key. Going back to meeting students where they are, if you can set aside some time to get to know a student, their experience with writing, maybe even be able to form that bond that makes them feel more comfortable talking with you, and then being willing to workshop different ideas and give feedback on writing, on the writing essays that they're doing in English 111, and just being accessible to them, I think is really, really important and key to their growth and their levels of achievement. I suppose if there are no other questions, we could wrap this up. Now, unfortunately, I'm not sure exactly how to do that.
I can wrap us up, and I'd just like to say thank you for sharing with all of us your ideas, because I'm sure that we each took some good takeaways, so thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.